And everybody gets so comfortable, man. That's why I'm like, that's why I always say complacency is a disease, man. You know what I mean? Mediocrity is a disease. You know what I mean? You could be like, okay, you know what? I made ends meet. I'm good. This is what, but you have to want more out of life, man. Like if you just go about life like, okay, you know what? This and this is done. It's fine. I'm okay with that. If you do that, you're gonna just keep living this mundane life where it's like repetitive. You know what I mean? And no, I want more. You know what I mean? Like you have to say, listen, I want more. I want to be able to just do things in life. I want to be able to travel. You know what I mean? You just want more out of life. You know what I mean? If people don't grasp that concept, they're gonna forever be stuck in that rut where they're like, okay, whatever.
Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Don't give me copyright flag though.
No. You can cut this out.
I sounded like a zombie.
Oh.
Just.
Yeah, in order to grow, you gotta have like some kind of goals.
All right, we're back, man. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Whatever time you're listening in, wherever you're listening from. Shout out to the Spotify, Google listenership, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube if you're watching in. Thanks for giving us a reason to get dressed.
Yep.
Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us right now.
Amen.
Let's take a moment, be present, and recognize that it's now.
Yep.
Right now. Whether you're listening from running, driving, working, playing, if you're at the gym rolling some jujitsu and you're listening to the podcast, that's a scary dude right there.
Absolutely.
Listening to podcasts.
Right. Hey, the technology's there, man. You know, they have so many different earpieces. You know, you can do whatever you want and get it done. You know, the ability to be hands-free for stuff is it's innovative. You know what I mean? It allows you to, still be productive while you're still, maintaining your secondary form of entertainment, whether it be music, podcast, whatever the case is, so.
There you go. Well, you hear that, Beats? We need wrestling headgear with speakers
with a chip in there, right?
That'd be dope. But we got a very special guest for you today. We have Wilfredo Pimentel, better known as Fredo.
Yep.
Owner of Drain Surgeons Plumbing.
Yes, sir.
Jiu-jitsu practitioner out of 10th Planet, Allentown.
Yep. Travels
the world, fighting the best of the best in the world, while maintaining a business, man. You're just a real inspiration. And
thank you. I appreciate that, man. It's definitely a challenge. You know what I mean? Every day's a challenge. You get up and you make decisions, and I feel like the minute you get out of bed, it's going to dictate how the rest of your day goes. You know what I mean? Every decision you make, from that point on, it's going to dictate how everything goes for you. You know what I mean? I feel like that's pivotal. You know what I mean? It's going to be the catalyst for how you interpret your day and how you go about your day and, the decisions you make in life. You know what I mean? Because everything is like a domino effect. You know what I mean? It's not only going to affect you, it's going to affect everyone around you, your loved ones, your family. You know what I mean? So I feel like, you get up every day and you decide to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm about. You know what I mean? I want to carry out everything that I decide to do and implement it voraciously. You know what I mean? And be consistent. That's what it's about,
Yeah, that's hard. The consistency with everything. I remember I was running on lunch and we had an hour. So it was about a mile drive to the trail. We'd run 2-3 miles, come back, shower, and my shoes had to be laced up by the time 1 o'clock came.
Yep.
And every day I remember like 59 minutes tying the shoes, and that just to me represented that consistency of
Absolutely.
like, okay, my tie is tied. I was wearing ties every day back then.
Yep.
But you're right, it carries on. It's about mindset. So I'm sure
Absolutely. Mindset rules everything. I feel like if you don't have a plan, you know what I mean? If you're just going everything, spontaneity is good, you know what I mean? But I feel like, regarding your life and your everyday habits, it has to be a plan. You have to have a plan laid out and you have to implement it regardless of the obstacles you're facing that day, you know what I mean? So you have to be like, okay, this is what I intended on doing. I'm going to get it done. You know what I mean? Regardless of the obstacles I'm facing, whether a client's late or whether you have a car trouble, you know what I mean? Like, okay, but this is not going to stop me. You know what I mean? If I can get it done, I'm going to still get it done. You know what I mean? You just got to go it full force, so definitely
man.
it.
It's about taking breaks too. It's funny, we had Gil Thompson and he was talking his metaphor for that was going to the gym after work, when your body's
absolutely
and that you set aside, this is your regimen, you can do 50 push-ups. So when you quit at 35, you could just chalk up 35. But like My coach used to say, I'm not watching you. Like, you can only cheat yourself.
Absolutely.
Did you do
Absolutely.
10?
Yep.
Yeah, I did 10. If you did 8, like, what? It's not him that's going to
Yep.
lack with it, but
Yeah, I feel I completely agree with that. What you do in the darkness is what's ultimately going to be your consequence. You know what I mean? So like, everything that you do and you implement when nobody's looking is going to ultimately come down to your daily habits, how you look, how you feel. You know what I mean? So if you're dragging and you're in a bad mood or you're crabby, it's like it's gonna say, okay, did you really get done what you wanted to set out to do? You know what I mean? So now it's questionable. You're like, okay, did you complete the workout you wanted to do? Did you get those errands done that you want to do? You know what I mean? Is your checklist fulfilled? You know what I mean? You set out to do whatever you're gonna do in that day. If you didn't get it done, it's gonna reflect it in your attitude. You know what I mean? Your demeanor, everything you do, the way you carry yourself, it's gonna say, hey, listen, I'm not 100%. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's important to really adapt to those changes in life. You know what I mean? And carry out what you intended on carrying out for that day in general. You only get 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean? People don't realize that. They just take it as another day and they just go about it nonchalantly. But God put this time out there for you to utilize. You know what I mean? How you utilize it, 100% up to you. You know what I mean? If you want to just lay back, watch TV, whatever, that's fine. You know what I mean? But I feel like time is precious. You know what I mean? Like that day today is there today and gone tomorrow. You can't go back. You can't alter anything you've done already in the past. You know what I mean? So you have to approach life and all your goals vehemently, you know what I mean? And just say, hey, listen, this is what I'm set out to do. I have to carry it out, regardless, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people fall short of that because they kind of, and that go back to the mindset, they kind of give themselves reason why it's okay not to do it. It's okay not to, carry on with that goal or that project, you know what I mean? And they make excuses for themselves. And honestly, yeah, it's okay. It feels good at the moment. Like, okay, yeah, I talked myself out of it. I'm okay. But in the end, and this is where it comes from, like long term, short, that instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Like, yeah, instant gratification makes you feel good. Like, okay, yeah, I gave myself a reason why I couldn't do this, or I couldn't finish this project, or I couldn't tackle that project. But then in the long run, it's going to kill you. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, hey, wow, I could have did that, but I made excuses for myself, and that's why I didn't carry it out. And it's gonna wear on you mentally. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a huge part of society today, and realizing that, hey, okay, I set out to do this, and I told myself it's okay that I didn't do it, because I had a rough day, or the dog did something to the house, you know what I mean, or it's just those little variables that really can give a dynamic change to your day. You know what I mean? So if you allow that stuff to really impact how you want to go about your day and how you want to continue your productivity, then you're going to fall short every time. Granted, nobody's perfect, you know what I mean? But I feel like as a person, as an individual, you have to conduct yourself in a way that's going to say, hey, listen, tomorrow's not promised, you know what I mean? And I want a better life. So I have to just trudge through the tough times, you know what I mean, and carry out what you need to do to get it done.
Going.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
And I think it's important to say, like, there's a scale for it. Like, I'm guilty of, like, I'll have an impossible task list. Let's say I need to get 3 done, but I got 8 written down.
Yep.
I'll get 7 written down, and I'll 7 done, and I'll be like, oh man, I didn't get that 8. You could beat yourself up for that. So it's important. Like, sometimes my body will just shut down.
Absolutely, I get that.
It's not like, put it this way, if you're making excuses,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If it's whether you're scrolling on Facebook,
Absolutely, yeah.
and you say next thing you know, it's, you ever go, it's 10:30 at night, you want to be in bed by 11, you start scrolling,
Amen.
and it's like
next thing you know, it's 11:30, and you're like, damn,
12, it's like after midnight, then you start getting anxiety, like, I'm not going to sleep. It's like you could have just made the decision to turn all your stuff off 20
Absolutely.
minutes before bed.
Absolutely, and I'm big on that. I feel like I have this thing where I where I like to say, if you stage your life in your daily habits, you know what I mean? So if you want to be in bed by 10:30, so then tell you what, let's put that phone in the charger in another room far away where you're not distracted. You don't have the temptation to pick it up and check it, you know what I mean, and go on social media, because that stuff can one thing about social media is it's a great outlet, you know what I mean, especially if you run a business, it's a great outlet to put yourself out there, and disseminate content that's going to provide an advantage to your audience, you know what I mean? But if you're just doing it to scroll, you know what I mean, there's no purpose, it's going to eat your time up, you know what I mean? There's times I've been there and I'm like scrolling, and you get so deep into like something in a page, and you keep clicking, and you're like, damn, like I just spent 45 minutes doing that and I don't get that time back. You know what I mean? So it's all about managing your time properly, so that you can be more productive. Because what you do at night, you know what I mean? Whether you do it or not, it's going to reflect you into the next day. You know what I mean? You can get up and be like, damn, I never took out that garbage and the garbage goes out today. You know what I mean? Like just the small things that'll wear on you throughout the day. And guess what? Now you're going to be distracted thinking about those things that you didn't get done. And now all those things that you neglected the night before is going to carry on to the next day. It's like a domino effect. You know what I mean? So I feel like you have to make that time and just be, just be kind of, determined to get that done so that you can say, okay, listen, okay, now you can, because it's a good feeling. You get everything done you're supposed to get done for that day. You know what I mean? You're on point. You're like, I want to be in by 10:30, and it feels good. You can go to bed and you had that. You kind of eradicate that overwhelming feeling. You know what I mean? You're just like, okay, I can go to bed. This is done. This is done. I emailed this client back. I got these invoices out, estimates out, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? And you could like, okay, I was productive. You know what I mean? And that's where we fall short. So I feel like, productivity is huge. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if you don't run a business. It could be anything small. You know what I mean?
But it's energy too. Like, not to cut you off. When as a creative entrepreneur, energy is super important.
Yep.
So I could book time to say, okay, I'm going to work on this logo.
Yep.
But if my house is a mess, make a million things up, I have to go somewhere, or, I'd feel better if the laundry was running. So let me just stop and run and get a thing of detergent so that can run while I do my work. It happens. But if you're tired, if you're angry, there's times where I'm like, okay, I need to manage my energy and my lifestyle just so that I can produce at a high quality content every single day.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to be effective,
Yeah. You got to be, that's the thing. Nobody knows, like when I'm billing hourly, when you're to tell the people a little bit about what you do, you're a plumber.
Yeah, I run my own plumbing business in Lehigh Valley. I started in 2016. So I'm going on 8 years now, running a business. It's been a roller coaster. You know what I mean? There's a lot of advantages, there's a lot of disadvantages, but there's a lot of stuff that people don't see behind the scenes that can really wear down on you. You know what I mean? And trying to meet deadlines, trying to communicate with customers, trying to schedule clients. You know what I mean? Trying to, I work with a lot of realtors, so I have a lot of instances where they have a closing set up the next day and they need, certain documentation sent out by that period of time. So now now I'm home and I want to try and like have a balance, you know what I mean? Where I'm like devoting time to my family, but yes, I have to do what I need to do to make the business sustain, you know what I mean? So it's like a juggle, you know what I mean? And that's the hard part about it, because there's sometimes where you're like, there's times I go home and I'll grab my work phone. I'm like, I don't even want to deal with this. You know what I mean? I'll just throw it on the desk. So it's like, you have to find that balance. You can't just, obviously you have a family to care for, one. Two, you have a business to run. So you have to find a balance where you can be like, okay, listen, let me just set aside. This is one of my habits I do. Let me set aside. I have a little timer. I use it, and I set aside. I'm gonna take 30 minutes to just devote my time to just communicating with clients. You know what I mean? Getting back to emails, getting invoices out, estimates done. You know what I mean? And that time is just your time. Uninterrupted. You put your phone aside, you know what I mean? Accept your work phone, whatever you need to do, and get it done. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a hard balance, and a lot of people don't understand that. They think like you run a business, everything's glitter and gold. You just reap the benefits, but it's very taxing, and a lot of times very stressful. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's
it adds up, and you can't get mad if you don't get paid if you didn't send the invoice.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm right now I'm sitting on a couple that I have to get out, and you know what I mean? It's like you have those good clients that are like, hey, I want to pay you. You know what I mean? So then I'm like, okay,
they're reminding you.
Yeah, and in my field of work, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm a plumber, but the majority of my work is emergency calls. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm responding to people that need me right then and then. You know what I mean? I don't do a lot of new construction stuff like that where like big jobs are planned ahead of time. So a lot of times I'm like, my schedule is my schedule, but I have to leave room for those variables, like a customer that calls in with an emergency, and I have to, fit them in, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I wish I could say I work a regular, 9 to 5, you know what I mean, 8 to 4, but I typically don't, you know what I mean? It's like, I have my schedule set out, and then you get these wrenches thrown in there where you're like, damn, okay, so now I got to accommodate this customer who's in a tough spot, you know what I mean? And like, you value yourself as a person of integrity. So like now they're relying on you to come bail them out of a tough situation, you know what I mean? So it's like, you have to find that balance where like, okay, you want to be there for them too as well, you know what I mean? But you want to have a balance. So I'm very transparent with my customers. So a lot of times I get calls and like, hey, I have this going on. And I'm like, hey, listen, I can honestly come out to you tonight, but I'm wondering if there's a possibility you can wait tomorrow. You know what I mean? If you can wait tomorrow, I'll gladly accommodate you, give you a specific time I could be there. You know what I mean? And a majority of the time they're very, very understanding. Because I'm transparent. You know what I mean? I'm not lying to them. I'm like, hey, this is what I got going on. I'm a little inundated with stuff that I got going on. You know what I mean? And I'll gladly come out there and help you, but is there a window where you're flexible, where you can say, hey, I'm gonna wait a little bit, no problem. You know what I mean?
And if it is an emergency, then they appreciate it more that you said, look, it's not really the greatest time for me. I do that. That's one thing I really grown on the last couple of years, just recently.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the post. My wife's car was stolen.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Right out in front of here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We got it back. The investigation is over, so we can say it was found in Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
Yep.
But it's a scary feeling. I had something due that Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was on my way to Evan's gym.
Okay.
Shout out XL Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, XL Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm on my way to train, and I get a call halfway. I can't find my car. I was like, we parked it right out front, but I didn't remember seeing it.
It's a gut-wrenching feeling. Yeah, it sucks.
By Monday, it's like, look, I didn't get a chance to work on your stuff Saturday. Thank God everybody's understanding. Because at the end of the day, they're the client. They could be like,
of course.
So what? The car, you know what I mean? Like, she's grown. She could, like, I don't know.
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, deal with it, whatever. Like, they need their stuff done. You know what I mean? They're like, I need this done. You know what I mean? And that's what's good. Like, I mean, honestly, like, I feel like when you run a business, regardless of what you cater to a certain demographic. You know what I mean? So, like, that demographic is going to be intelligent. They're going to know what you got going on, and they're going to be understanding. And if they're not understanding, then okay, whatever. You have to, adjust your circumstances according to what they need see met. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the biggest part about it. You know what I mean? That's why I'm big on being transparent. I'm not here making excuses or telling lies, you know what I mean? Or, I'm just gonna be like, listen, I was out all day. I'm tired. You know what I mean? If you're okay with waiting, I would like to get some rest and I can help you out tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just being transparent. People respect that. You know what I mean? Just that level of honesty, you know what I mean? Because then it goes back to being a person of integrity, you know what I mean? And they could be like, okay, you know what? He was transparent. He was honest, you know what I mean? And, we'll work with him so that we can have our needs met. You know what I mean? So, and that's what's huge. And I feel like that. And in your case too, with that, they should understand those variables. Like, you gotta, technically it's your wife's car. It's a woman in distress. You know what I mean? As a man, you know what I mean? You're obligated, I hate to say that word obligated, but you're obligated to be there for her and say, hey, listen, I'm here with you. Let's figure it out together. You know what I mean? It's not her problem. Now it's your problem together collectively. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like it's important that, you have a household to maintain and you have to deliver as a man, because that's your given right. You know what I mean? And I say it's a right because it is a right. It's a privilege. It's an opportunity. You know what I mean? It's like, to just be like, hey, listen, my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, delivered, when I was in a time of need, you know what I mean? He didn't leave me out in the cold, you know what I mean? So, that stuff's important too. You know what I mean? It goes back to like, doing everything right,
I got to ask you.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I got to ask, did you were training, and I met you in 2016.
Correct.
And before we worked on the branding for Drain Surgeons, you mentioned you were cage fighting or you were training then.
Correct.
So did you do that before you got into business?
Correct. Yeah.
How long you been training?
So technically, I was training back in 2007. I joined. Shout out to Rat Pack. Nicholas Manston. He runs Rat Pack in Palmerton. I was big into jiu-jitsu. I was addicted to it. I said I love this stuff. You know what I mean? I love training. I love the discipline. So I joined Rat Pack. And literally trained with them for about a year and change. I got my blue belt in like 6 months. You know what I mean? And, trained with them. I was cage fighting like crazy. I was fighting in Atlantic City at the casinos. I was fighting in Jersey. And then I had kids, you know what I mean? I was like, shit, like I gotta prioritize this, you know what I mean? So I tried to manage both, but it was impossible, you know what I mean? Like as actively fighting, you need to put a lot of time in the gym, you know what I mean? And if you're an active cage fighter, shout out to my cage fighters out there. If anybody knows, you're putting at least 30 hours a week in the gym between your sparring, your jiu-jitsu, your conditioning, you know what I mean? I trained with American Top Team back in the day. It was mandatory. We did yoga, you know what I mean? So like stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like you had to do all the things that were required of you as a fighter because you represented that school and that team, you know what I mean? So it's not like, hey, let me just do this for clout. I want to be like cool. No, it was a broader picture, you know what I mean? So you had to really deliver on all aspects so that, hey, okay, now you delivered. Now guess what? Now you got all these awesome coaches in your team backing you up, as you carry on to do what you love. You know what I mean? So it's a hard balance. So I had to give that up. You know what I mean? So 2009, I said, I'm done, and I didn't pick it back up till 2019. I joined 10 Planet Allentown when they were not even open yet. They were announcing a new location in Allentown, and I reached out to John Blank, who's our coach. He's a black belt, young guy, and I reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm looking to join you guys. And he's like, yeah, we're not open yet, but we have a special going on, yada, yada, yada. So I signed up. I said, I'm in. I don't care, and joined them in 2019. And I've been with them now till then, And now I'm a brown belt, in the 10 Planet system under John Thor Blank and Zach Maslany of 10 Planet Bethlehem. They're both my different camps. We have 2 locations. Shout out to 10 Planet Bethlehem, 10 Planet Allentown. We have a great camp, great team, man. I feel like everybody's, it's like a family, you know what I mean? Like there's, we just all look out for each other, you know what I mean? We're always helping each other get ready for stuff, whether it's cage fighting, whether it's jiu-jitsu tournaments, whatever the case is. Everybody's there for each other and they help to make sure that not only are we ready physically, but mentally too as well. You know what I mean? Because that's the biggest part of that. You know what I mean? Like you go out there, you put your life on the line, whether you're cage fighting or competing in jiu-jitsu. It's a lot of it's a mental battle on top of the physical. You're beating your body up every day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's hard to how do you call it? Like knowing the mentality and stuff. That's why I didn't compete this year.
Yeah.
There was a couple guys from Exalt where they
just
just said,
where they were out there
hey, it was like Thursday on a Saturday they're competing. No, besides just regular training, it's like, all right, you could do that, but you also, like you said, I have a family. I could lose eyesight. You're running that risk whenever you're literally fighting someone. So
Absolutely.
It's like, part of me is like, oh, I'm invincible. I saw the clip. It was funny when I was thinking of making the decision for a resolution at the dinner we do. I saw the clip where Rocky's like, you see that? That ain't us no more.
Exactly.
We can't do that like we used to.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, you gotta, it's a lot different training after 15, 20 years.
It really is. It really is. And it's like, not only that too, but like factoring your lifestyle, your age, you know what I mean? And it's like, realistically, I'm 43. I don't have to do this, you know what I mean? And I compete a lot, you know what I mean? I travel a lot. I've been to over probably 15 states, you know what I mean? And competed in, everywhere from up and down the West Coast to the East Coast, whatever that is, Midwest, And, but it takes a certain mindset, you know what I mean? Because it's nerve wracking. I mean, you spend how much money traveling between flight to hotel, signing up to fight and compete. It's a lot of stuff on the line. So now, exactly. Dieting, getting yourself, your conditioning ready. So it's like, okay, so now you've invested all this time, all this money for a freaking 6-minute match. You know what I mean? So now you're like, damn, shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like you got to really go ahead and give it 110%. You know what I mean? So I enjoy that pressure. You know what I mean? I feel like, I travel out there with my family. And I'm like, okay, I'm here to compete, and I don't ever say, oh, I'll do my best. No, I'm going to give it 110%. You know what I mean? In my head, I try to approach every match like, when I win, I try to talk into existence. You know what I mean? So there's losses too, but like, if you have that mindset, it's going to help you to approach that match effectively. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you don't know this other person from a hole in the wall, you know what I mean? And we're in a sport where you can easily get severely hurt, you know what I mean? I've seen people get carried out on stretchers, ambulances, you know what I mean? There's guys that can't walk for 6 months, so it's like it's a very high risk. But I'm cognizant of the risk, I must say, you know what I mean? But at the same sense, I'm not letting that risk hinder me from my ability, you know what I mean? I approach everything with knowing what I'm capable of, you know what I mean? I know I train with a great team, and all those guys I train with in the room are just animals, you know what I mean? So I go in there with that mindset saying, hey, you know what? I train with the best in the game. I don't care. Let's go to war. You know what I mean? My age doesn't have an effect in it. And that's the thing about me too. Like everybody uses their age as a limitation, but honestly, it's a number. Let's be realistic. You know what I mean? It's a number. You know what I mean? Like for me to say, oh, I'm 43, I shouldn't be doing this stuff. You know what I mean? I'm competing against guys in their 20s. You know what I mean? And sometimes I compete against guys my age, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, for what? Like I honestly, I know what I'm capable of. You know what I mean? I put all that work behind the scenes to come out here and hold back. You know what I mean? Because I'm worried about getting hurt, or I'm thinking like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this at my age. No, and at the end of the day, I'm going in there like it's like, to me, I approach every match like it's another session in the grappling room. You know what I mean? Where we train and
right.
Train and get ready. It's just another match. Your mind's got to tune that out. You know what I mean?
You prepared for the match before you get to the match.
Yep.
But it's funny. I had to ask you because I was talking with Evan about this.
Yeah.
Do you still get? I don't want to call them butterflies, but like when the adrenaline's cooking, do you still feel that pre-match?
That's a good question, honestly, because I felt like in the last year and a half, I don't get that anymore. Like I feel like I've competed, and I tally the other day. I probably compete. I've had over 150 matches already in my life. You know what I mean? So like, there's gonna come a point in time where you're like, okay, it's another match, whatever. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'm grateful for that opportunity to be like, hey, I'm cool. I'm not nervous. You know what I mean? I feel great. My cardio is good. I'm healthy. You know, praise God, I'm healthy. I don't have no ailments, and I'm gonna go in there and just give it 110. You know, and be smart at this. At the same note, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna do no high risk dumb stuff, but I'm gonna go on there and implement my game. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just the butterflies are still there, but for me, it's there because it's there on an intelligent mindset. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
be smart.
It's
You know what I
helping.
mean?
It's helping you out. It's not
Be smart. I'm
it's
not
not
holding back, but
paralyzing you.
exactly. Not paralyzing me, like, but in the same
Yeah.
sense, it's like, okay, you know what you're here to do. You know, you train in the room with a bunch of animals, a bunch of killers. You know what I mean? We got a lot of high level guys at our camp at 10 Planet. You know what I mean? At both locations. So every time I go in there and compete, the minute I step on that mat, I'm like, I train with the best. I'm ready. Let's go. You know what I mean? If I lose because this guy was better than me, it's not because I held back and said, oh, I was seeing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to really go in there with that mindset and give it 110. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Your mind can kill you before he kills you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you have to be like cognizant and ready, and you have to trust. I always tell my teammates, as I was said, trust your jujitsu. You know what I mean? Trust what you work on in the room. Trust what you do when nobody's looking. You know what I mean? And implement that. You know what I mean? Be the aggressor. That was how I started. When I first started, I was like, oh, I'm gonna just go off of what he's doing and react over. No, you know what I mean? Because then they're gonna think they have the upper hand. Because now you're letting them approach you. Now you let them get. You know what I mean? So now you have to be the aggressor and say, okay, you're here. You sign up to compete with me. Let's go. You know what I mean? You're going to be the aggressive. You're going to tie up. You know what I mean? Make them feel uncomfortable. Let them feel your strength. You know what I mean? Let them know that you're pushing forward. You know what I mean? So it's like, that helps a lot with trying to go in there and get the job done. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can't think about the other stuff, you know, getting hurt. You know, that stuff's inevitable. You know what I mean? I've been hurt on matches. You know what I mean? I've been helped off the mat. You know, my teammates carried me out. You know what I mean? That was back in the day. But like, I feel like the more I compete, the more mature I get. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm more smarter about how I do things. You know what I mean? I don't have an ego. You know what I mean? I know if I'm in a match and it's a compromising position where I can potentially get hurt, you know what I mean? I'll tap out. You know what I mean? I have no pride at all. You know what I mean? The guy was just better than me. He was just more smarter at getting to that position and putting me in a vulnerable position where I like, damn, I'm done. You know what I mean? I'm cooked. You know what I mean? I got to tap out. You know what I mean? So you have to go in there with that mindset. Like, yeah, the butterflies are inevitable. Everybody experiences them. But I feel like for me, as I compete more and more, it's not as bad as when I first started, you know what I mean, and going through it, you know what I mean. So it helps out a lot. That's why I always tell my teammates, like, all my lower belt guys, I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I always tell my lower belts, my white belts, my blue belts, you know what I mean. I say, listen, okay, you went out there, you lost, you got your ass kicked. Go back out there again, you know what I mean? Dust it off, go back out there, because that's how I did it. You know what I mean? I was a blue belt competing in expert division. You know what I mean? Getting my ass mopped. You know what I mean? Getting tapped out in a minute. You know what I mean? Then it was like a period where I'm like, okay, now I'm getting tapped out quick. Okay, now I'm losing, but on points. Okay, I'm not getting finished. Okay, so now we're on a point where I'm like, I'm getting better. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm winning on points, and now I'm starting to finish these guys. You know what I mean? At blue and purple. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, just that progression, it motivates me to know that, okay, hey, listen, I'm getting better. You know what I mean? My progression's there. I'm consistently training. I'm not just training to get ready for a fight. That's the thing about a lot of people. They only train when they are getting ready for something, but you got to be consistently training all the time. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. And I always tell people, join jiu-jitsu. You don't have to compete. There's nothing saying you have to compete, but just join it just to have that discipline where you're picking up a self-defense. You know what I mean? And I always tell people, you don't have to compete. That's not necessary at all. A competition is a way to challenge yourself if you wanted to. You know what I mean? But other than that, you know, just do, I hate to say the bare minimum, but do the bare minimum. You know what I mean? You want to come up, sign up, train,
It's
and,
better
and teach
than,
yourself. You know
it's
what I
better
mean?
than nothing. We talk about a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring it full circle. Like, the reason why I asked if you train before business, people don't understand what training martial arts, or even if you're not competing and you're just competing with yourself,
Yeah.
it translates over into other areas of your life. That
Absolutely.
discipline, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
telling yourself you're going to send that invoice. They say, like, a body in motion stays in motion. So like, that happens with your mind as well too. It's a lot. If I say here's two ways I could go about it. I could scroll Instagram for half an hour and then send the invoice, or I could send the invoice and then scroll Instagram.
Yep.
One of them, I'm going to be completely dead. I've sent stuff where it's like, you know, I'm billing them for another client's work. Like, it's the right price, but the description is off. And it's like, you're supposed to, you're supposed to be like pivotal in business. Everything's supposed to tie up. I'm like, don't you understand when people like even having podcast guests when I have them over to my house.
Yep.
If it's all out of whack, they think, I don't know, it's just crazy how one thing goes to another, how
Yeah.
training martial arts can help you keep your house clean.
And it's true. It honestly, you hit it on right on the nose, and it goes back to the word discipline. You know what I mean? Like people, that's the one. And I always tell people this, like, right? What's unbiasedly, the two most things people want in life is to look great and make good money. You know what I mean? And I feel like in order to look great, you have to have the discipline to want to do that. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the one thing that's absolutely attainable. You know what I mean? Like making money is hard. You got to go out there, you got to hustle, you got to sell your product, whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's a constant battle. But as far as like looking good and feeling good, that requires a lot of discipline. You know what I mean? And discipline is something you attain. It's a habit. You know what I mean? And I feel like I always tell people this, like if you have the discipline to do that, do anything like, then you're going to be successful at everything you touch. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I want to do this. I want to take on this project, or I want to learn a new language, or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? Or, you know, you want to quit bad habits. You know, somebody wants to quit smoking. Okay, do you have the discipline to really carry that on? You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is like, you know, and that goes back to what I was saying before about instant gratification and delayed gratification. Like everybody wants everything right now.
Yeah,
like,
they want to take a pill.
Let's go. Like I want it to magically happen, and boom. No, you're gonna suffer. You know what I mean? Like when I started my business, I was working out of a fucking 2004 Honda Accord. You know what I mean? Like going to service calls and loading my tools up. You know what I mean? Before I even had my truck, like, you know, I understand that part. You know what I mean? And I always felt like I had to explain to these people, like, I'm sorry, I'm in a car, I'm not in a work truck. You know what I mean? And they respected my hustle. I was transparent. You know, but like you have to have that discipline, regardless of the obstacles, to want to carry things out. You know what I mean? Whether it's a career you want to attain, you know what I mean? Or certain weight you want to lose, you know what I mean? Or in a certain like, you know, look you desire to attire, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, discipline goes a long way. You have to have discipline. Otherwise, you know, you're going to fall short every time, you know?
For sure. Even I'm thinking back to making sure all the cameras are charged. And
yeah,
I mean, there's times where I'm laying in bed. Oh shit, the cameras aren't on.
Yeah.
I gotta go. And then I'll go and check, and maybe they are.
Yeah.
And they were charging. But if I didn't check and they weren't, now you're traveling the world internationally. I know you talked about the 50 states, but I see you in the tropics and some of these competitions that you do. So those are other benefits you've pulled from it.
Yep.
But you took time out of your schedule to be here. Can you imagine if the camera that's on you just wasn't working? So now we got to shift it, and now we got to have like they can't see the scene. Like all of it is everything down to the reels that we're going to promote for the episode. Yep. It's all, like you said, consistency. And I fell off recently with the consistency. I'm set for the next, like, I have a guest like every week till February.
Yeah.
But, I felt bad, and this isn't even what I do to make money. This is just a hobby, but my level of discipline translates into my hobbies. Like if I can do it 100%, it's like, okay, let me just know where I'm at.
Yeah.
So keeping healthy, keeping the energy to be able to create, to give yourself 100%. We talked with Gil Thompson. You got to watch the 2-year anniversary episode I put out.
Yeah.
He's talking about how he gets ready in the morning and meditates just so that he's not grumpy to other people.
Yeah.
So it's like when somebody's has no motivation, has no will, I'm going to kind of judge and think, okay, that's probably why you're depressed. You know, like it's really hard to be checking lists off every day and be depressed. And this is trust me, like when you go through depression, it's really hard to check or do those lists. But those little incremental things, those little things that make you happy and turn into the upward spiral, like it's what you have to do. You know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to just happen. The only money that's going to come without doing anything is when I get parking for street cleaning.
Exactly.
And you know, I get fined for something, and now I have to. It's funny. They wrote repeat offender.
Yeah, and you get an increased ticket when you're a repeat offender.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I 100% agree with you. Like it's funny because you say about the parking authority, and like, you know, you live in Allentown, I live in Allentown. They were just relentless with like just looking for ways to get people. I'm like, we live in the suburbs, you know what I mean? We're not in the city, you know what I mean? Like where there's a meter or something, you know what I mean? It's just annoying dealing with that kind of crap, you know what I mean? But you know, you have to adapt, you know what I mean? So
But you know what? Back to the discipline. The only reason why I got it was because I don't know if I slept in half an hour or like, we have a whole morning regimen,
yep,
especially when we were down to one car where
yep.
people have to be in different sides of the town. Somebody has to be early. But now you have, okay, on top of that, I slept in 20 minutes. Now this person is late. Now the car's not moved by 8 a.m. So now I got a $50 ticket. It's like, you can't, I'm like, oh, I don't even get mad when I get the ticket. I'm like, I didn't have my laces tied by 1 p.m. Like that's,
Exactly. Listen, it's funny you say that because I always say it's like what I say about that is that that's a consequence of your daily habits. You know what I mean? The decisions you make. You know what I mean? So like, people are always like, "Oh, do you panic or worry about making a certain amount of money?" I'm like, no, I don't worry about that stuff. You know what I mean? I feel like the work I put out there and being a person of integrity. You know what I mean? The money that I make is a consequence of me being that character. You know what I mean? Being able to provide good service, being able to be transparent, being able to be a person of integrity that people can rely on. You know what I mean? And that's what I would say that. Like, that it goes back to what you're saying. Like, yeah, you wanted to sleep in a little 20, 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And now look how it's a domino effect. You know what I mean? Like I said before, it's a domino effect of like that one decision you made to like sleep in. Now look what it did. You know what I mean? Now you got somebody late for work who could potentially lose their job. You never know. You know what I mean? You got
right.
pay a ticket. You know what I mean? Now you're like, you know, it's just like it's just a ripple effect of things that can affect you because you wanted to be selfish and be like, oh, I want to sleep in. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes we got to let go of what we want and think about the broader picture and like, okay, let me get up and be, more effective, and that's it. And I'm big on that too. Even like my morning routine, man, I don't sleep in, if I know I got to be on a job by like 9, I'm up at like 7:30. I'd rather just get up, and I have this routine where I'll get up. I don't touch my phone. I touch my phone and take it off the charger, but I don't check it. I go, make a coffee and I don't drink it till like 30 minutes after I'm up, you know what I mean? Not right away. And
I read about that.
Yeah, I go, it's a big thing. They say that Jocko Willing said that too as well. You know what I mean? Like he's like,
it doesn't let your cortisol balance
exactly.
out, right?
Yeah. So when you get up in the morning, don't drink coffee right away. Don't let that be your stimulant. You know what I mean? Like you need to just do what you got to do, set it up, hit your machine, whatever, and wait about 30 to 60 minutes before you drink it. So in that time, I'm either watching a YouTube video for something that's going to benefit me, whether it's spiritual, whether it's motivational, you know what I mean? I'll go outside and, I have my own home gym, but I have pull-up bars outside in my backyard and I'll just do like, pull-ups and just, play with my dogs, and just, divest myself from the distractions of a phone or social media or a client texting, you know what I mean? Because I feel like the morning is so critical and people don't understand that, you know what I mean? Like it can really dictate your mood and how you conduct yourself the rest of the day. So like
the entire day,
if you pick up your phone immediately right when you wake up, you know what I mean? You're like checking your notifications, you know what? You're going to be sidetracked. You know what I mean? You're not going to do everything you set out to do. You know what I mean? I'd rather have that time to just be like, okay, I'm up early. I'm going to just do what I got to do, get my truck ready, start it up, warm it up. You know what I mean? Just confirm with clients that I'm going
out the car out. Just
whatever.
Take the trash out of the car.
Exactly. The little habits you could do that are going to make everything flow better for your day. You know what I mean? And then once you get that done, okay, go ahead. Go hit the coffee machine, drink your coffee and sip it up. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's critical. You know what I mean? Because the way you wake up and the way you carry on your mornings and it really dictate the way the rest of your day goes. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny because like lately I've been trying to work out in the morning, you know what I mean? And just, try and like, get that discipline, like, okay, you know what, let's go. Get up, 2 hours early, I'll go work out, get a good workout in, then I'll drink coffee, you know what I mean? And go about my day. And it really does have an impact on your day. It really does. It's mood altering, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I felt productive. I got up, I worked out.
You
did
can
what I
feel
do.
the endorphins when you're drinking coffee. I used to run a lot in the morning. And
yeah, I remember you were big on running. I used to see all your posts.
But I mean, if it was 5:30 in the morning and snowing out, I was still out. I would just have hat and gloves. There was time I would be out in a t-shirt with hat and gloves at like 26 degrees, because I said I was going to run. And it's like, people are like, were you cold? Well, fuck yeah, it's 26 degrees.
Yeah,
But I'm
exactly.
not thinking about that. The feeling of I did it anyway. And I have to go back and look. Maybe I'll have time to throw it up. But I had a Snapchat where they used to be able to show you the temperature
Yes, exactly.
before you could cut and edit all your stuff. So people used to like Snapchat was cool because you couldn't see comments. So people had to reply.
Yep.
And people would be like, yo, you're crazy. Especially my dudes from California.
Oh, of
They'd
course.
be like,
Yeah, the West
what are you
Coast.
doing out there? Like, what are you doing out? Is that snow?
Yep.
And so I realize I'm self-aware enough to realize I go through cycles. So I can't always be on. Like right now is around when I would compete. And for whatever reason, 15 years later, I get like right around October, I'm just kind of on. Sometimes a little bit in the summer, you know, I might be a little slower. So I'll work from 5 to 8 a.m. on client projects if I'm alert and I'm awake.
Yeah.
If I can't, you know, if I get up at 5, even if I count my sleep, but even if I had decent sleep, but my body's telling me like, don't do it. And then I realize, okay, for 2 weeks, I couldn't do it. I won't even schedule it in the morning anymore. Like I don't have to be as hardcore because I mean, there really is a thing as being too disciplined.
Absolutely.
Like you can go and look at somebody and say they have this success because they have every 15 minutes of their calendar scheduled out. And that's great. But if they're not taking that time to rest, there's, you know, they better be taking 3-4 vacations
exactly
in that time, or investing in massage or stretch therapy, have something. I mean, when I don't get to practice, I feel different. I feel more like agitated, less like, I don't know. It's weird.
No, I 100% agree with you. Like even times like there'll be times where I can't train because I'm working so much and like, you know, I don't train for like a week, you know, which is a lot for me. I always train all the time and I'm like, and I feel it. My mood is just, you know, I'm just like really sullen, you know what I mean? I'm real reticent, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm not really, you know, in tune with the daily habits that I like to do and, you know, accomplish, you know what I mean? So I get that whole like mentality where like, okay, so then I know I need to get my ass back in there and work, you know what I mean? Because it's going to alter your mood at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So, you know, and it helps with the mental health, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people dealing with mental health. I personally battle with depression, you know what I mean? And jiu-jitsu helps me with that, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's my outlet, you know what I mean? So it's like,
I hear a lot of people say
it
that.
Really is,
like,
honestly. Like I was diagnosed with PDD, with persistent depressive disorder. So it's like high functioning depression, you know what I mean? And there'll be times I get in these funks and I can't even call why. There's no explanation. I'm just like in a funk, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and I'm just battling with it. I'm like, okay, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't want to train. I don't want to work out, whatever. I don't even care about eating clean, nothing like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I gotta fight that mental battle to get out of that rut. And like, oh no, get your ass in the gym or go train, you know what I mean? And get yourself out of that funk, you know what I mean? And I feel like jiu-jitsu helped me so much with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, there was a point in my life where I was like 240 pounds, you know, just constantly drinking beer, not caring about, you know, what I was putting in my body, you know what I mean? And I'm like, this is not me, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I gotta do something now because it's going to be too late. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm 43 and I got friends that are like 35, 40 years old, just dying from heart attacks just because they make, you know, poor decisions every day. You know what I mean?
That
So
was
it's like,
the scariest for me.
That is
Rest
scary.
in peace. I had a friend at like 35. And you know what was crazy? He had just said, I'm going to get everything together. He had quit smoking, started eating healthy. And like that year, that was it. And so it's like,
bro, I'm getting chills now thinking about it because
somebody I wrestled with too. So you're like, we were all at that same prime in our teens. You know, we were all competing at a high level. So yeah, I mean, granted, there's always going to be, you know, I make choices that I think will affect me in terms of longevity or things like that.
Yeah.
But you know, you can't, like, who knows? You could smoke and get hit by a car.
You can.
You could, I mean, you can get hit by a car even if you don't smoke. So
Exactly.
that's not a great metaphor, but you know, you
don't know. Like tomorrow's not promised. Yeah.
Like the worst injury I ever had was in volleyball after wrestling.
My shoulder. Playing. It's funny you say that because like I remember I was playing a volleyball game, right? And I was in the front of the net. And I went to block a spike, and the ball pushed my shoulder all the way back. And I tell you what, that hindered me for like a good year. My shoulder was not the same. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's just dumb. Like and you know me, I'm a person of extreme sports. You know what I mean? Everybody always, cracks the jokes like I'm Hispanic, but I'm like a white boy, X Games motor. You know what I mean? I always snowboard, motocross, whatever the case
shout
is.
Out to East Coast
and I'm like,
Lowlanders.
yeah, for real. Like, and shout out to my boys, Jeff and Keith. I always go, it's funny because we're like the only minorities in the mountain, and we go to like the craziest peaks with the highest elevations, and we're like the only brown boys up there, like, hit these expert trails, you know what I mean? But it's funny because like it's always like that. You always get injured doing the dumbest shit, you know what I mean? Like, it's just dumb, you know what I mean? Like, I blocked a shot on volleyball, and now I have this shoulder impingement that's hindering me for like a good year, you know what I mean? It's like, you never know what's gonna happen.
I think I was
mean?
doing a somersault, or not a somersault. What was I doing? I was just rolling. Like, I wasn't rolling with someone. I was just
being silly.
Myself rolling as a warm up.
Yeah.
And I had like, they're like, you got calcific tendonitis now. It was probably from bad shoulder position, just from wrestling. And then I like messed it up. So I don't know if that's what it was, but you'd think going live is when you get all your craziest injuries.
It never is, man. Like, I swear to God, it's like always dumb stuff.
I'm drilling and somebody was learning something and just had it wrong. And so that's why, but that'll teach you that you can change the stuff that happens. Like, you have to have a certain bit of adaptability.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to learn, because if I didn't run one day, it was bad.
Yeah.
And like, I get it for some people, like, shout out to my people in recovery. There's some people, we were talking about this the other day, but they don't litter because that is one step closer to taking them back to the person that uses.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they think I'm going to end up.
It's triggering, you know what I mean? That's why they're conscious, and that's huge, because if you're conscious of the points of things in life that will trigger you, you do everything you can to eradicate or even mitigate the probability of that happening. You know what I mean? So like, that's huge. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it could be something small as littering, but like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, now I'm careless or reckless. Now, what is that decision going to transfer onto down the stream? You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I'm saying. Every decision you make, every thought you have, your thought process is gonna have a domino effect. You know what I mean? So you got to be cognizant of that, you know what I mean, and conduct yourself in a way that's going to benefit you and everyone else around you, because it's not always about you. You know what I mean? People misunderstand that. They're like, oh, I'm not doing this, and I feel like I'm bummed that I'm not calm. No, how about you conduct yourself unselfishly, unbiased? You know what I mean? You think about what you can do. You know what I mean? If you want to go out there and tackle a career or get a degree, damn, let's think how that's going to affect your mom or your dad. Like, damn, okay, I'm proud of my kid. They did this or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? So now they're going to carry themselves in the same manner. So like, I feel like your energy can be contagious. You know what I mean? So like, you could be like, damn, like they're out here doing this. You know what I mean? So like, I'm feeling that. Like, let me go do this. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of how old your parents are, but they're going to feel more motivated because, hey, listen, my kid did this and they accomplished this. So now like, I feel motivated. Let me go to the gym. Let me start caring about my health. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like I always say that word domino effect, because you never know, like, that one decision you make can affect people down the line. You know what I mean? So like, I try to be a good influence, you know what I mean, on my kids, and be like, hey, my dad is doing this, he don't have to do this. You know what I mean? He's 43. He could just sit home and watch Netflix and do nothing. But at the end of the day, man, it's hard for me to do that. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I have a balance where I relax and rest, but like,
yeah, I'm sure you're not the same as you were 5
yeah, no, but at the same note, I can't fathom myself committing to a show and binge watching it. Like, I see all these posts on Facebook, oh, I need a new show to binge watch. I'm like, damn, like, I think of better things I could do with my time. You know what I mean? Like, work on a second language or develop another craft. You know what I mean? If you want to learn how to play guitar or whatever, something that's going to benefit you, that's outside of the realm of what everybody else is doing. Like, what do you want to be in a conversation? Like, oh yeah, we all saw this show and this show. You know what I mean? And like, oh, this scene was great, but like, okay, what is that getting you? Is there any benefit to that decision you made? You know what I mean?
Game of Thrones. So there is a benefit of being up on pop culture.
Yeah.
There is, even if it's small, but for me, it's more like people know I played video games.
Yeah.
I haven't, like, I've dabbled, but I really haven't had the time to sit there and play for 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
Probably since summer, maybe like early summer.
Yeah.
And I know because it tells you how long you played.
Yeah.
And I just whenever I have that one other thing to do, or I think like there's stuff on my to-do list to do when I'm done with my to-dos.
It's always like
just
that.
in case my house is in order
Yep.
and all my clients are paid and everything's in follow-up, then I can start working on my podcast or my social strategy. You know, there's things to do. So I'll force myself to play games, but I'm never like, it's been so long since I'm looking. So for me, I remember being like, what's the next game I'm going to play?
Yeah.
How am I going to fill my time? I have 4 hours a night. You know, what got me out of that was editing and making content for the games.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, well, I don't want to play the game. I just want to get the clips to edit. While my friends were online playing games, I'm there editing, pissing them off, playing the same thing over. So I was like, all right, it just kind of, I don't want to say I grew out of it because it does add to my creativity.
Yeah.
And anything like if I'm going to watch something, it's going to be Marvel or Game of Thrones. It's got to be at the epitome of my industry.
Absolutely.
People are like, hey, can I get a French new wave modern soap opera? Because they're like down that rabbit hole of black and white noir.
Yep.
No, I mean, to each his own. Like, if you find community in discussing that with people, like it used to be, if you were into something quote unquote weird, you were kind of isolated. You know what I mean? Now you can play Dungeons and Dragons with somebody in Albany and somebody else in Costa Rica. So it's like ever since Twitter or so, you can find other people who have the same interests as you, and just being able to move through society and have equity, like even having a podcast. People are like, if people see this, what we're doing right here, and they don't listen to any of the conversation, they don't know what it's about. They're just like, it looks official.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they dig down and they're like, okay, it's all set up so that everything else is blanked out, but me and you, we don't even notice the lights.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay, I can see why he's going in that direction. Like, but people just see, hey, it happened to me today. I was walking out of Walgreens. Hey, the podcast. Like, people just see, okay, you have something that everybody else has and yours looks good or whatever it is. Or there's people that say like, oh, why is he on the Shure and he's on the SM58? You know, like there's always going to be people. As I got into threads, and you know this, anybody who trains in martial arts knows, like, there really is no best, you know. And what do you do? Like, does Gordon Ryan just say, I'm done now?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm done training.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end. Or like, you know what I mean? You go as long as your body can take.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you on that one. Definitely.
But that's the encompassing, that's the feeling I want to encompass in the show. Like, people have to understand it's that journey, it's the discipline along the way. That's going to be the theme.
And you never know who you're impacting, you know what I mean? Some people are have that fear of socializing or going out in public. So like, you don't know how your podcast can impact that person, you know what I mean? So like, you know, you might be putting out content that resonates with them and they're like, oh damn, you know what I mean? Like this is, you know what I mean? This is what helps me out. And that's why I'm not biased against people that do that stuff or play video games. Like, go ahead, do what you, if it makes you happy, go ahead and go for it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Everybody has their own niche, you know what I mean? But for me, it's like, I even have a PS5. I barely play that thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
you were saying you weren't going to get Call of Duty 6 because you're like, I just know. As soon as you said that, I was like, all right, cool. He's on the same wavelength as me where.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be addicted to that, man. It's like, it's great. And the new, what's that game that's coming out? I forget the name of it, but it was a new game that's coming out. I'm like, if I get that game, I'm done. It's like, I'm folded. I'm like, I'm gonna be so committed into it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I gotta focus. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with gaming. I feel like gaming is a good outlet for people to just, you know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with
absolutely nothing wrong with it.
TV.
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
Showering.
Exactly.
It's when you're not
exactly.
You know, when it's feeding into your depression.
Dude, and that's exactly what it is. And people don't understand that. Like, it's funny you say that because when I got diagnosed with my depression, the doctor was asking me crazy questions. questions like that. He's like, oh, what are your daily habits and what are you doing? He's like, have you been showering? I'm like, no, I haven't showered in 2 days. Like, and like, you like, oh, do you have daily habits that you typically do? And I'm like, I'll tell him. He's like, oh, when was the last time you did it? I'm like, damn, like a week ago. And he's like, yeah, okay, this is what you have. You have depression. I'm like, damn, I didn't realize that. Like, you know what I mean? That was how you diagnose depression. You know what I mean? Like your daily habits, you start like not caring about them. You don't care about your personal hygiene. You care about your personal health.
When
you
you lose the will to do something you used to love.
Exactly,
like for
dude.
me, it's almost like gaming is because I don't play so much that I won't like it. But if I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, that chess game or whatever I play makes me happy, but now I'm just sitting there, or like people talk about it. And it's funny because you could go on to Reddit and hear people talking about whether they're struggling with video game addiction. They're like, dude, I have all these games and I just don't know which one to play. And it's like, maybe you don't have to play anything right now. Like your brain is looking for that dopamine from something.
Exactly. You know? You hit it on the spot, man. It's everybody wants that rush. You know what I mean? That goes back to that instant gratification. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel that now. Like I don't care about the long term. I don't want to wait. I want it right now. You know what I mean? That's their mentality. You know what I mean? And like you have to be okay with suffering for a while. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing. Like when I started my business, I suffered like crazy for the first 2 years, man. I was like, damn, do I hang it up now? I'm like, I wasn't having a lot of business and I was struggling, you know what I mean? And, you know, at the time I was paying child support and I was behind on child support and dealing with all that stuff. And I'm like, damn, what the hell do I do? Like, do I hang it up? And I'm like, no, I'm not giving up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm supposed to follow social convention and be like, hey, you know what? This is not going to work out for you. You know what I mean? They say that the business fails in the first year or two. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not going to be that. I don't want to be that statistic. I want to push through that obstacle and let's make it work. You know what I mean? And I'm glad I did that, because if I didn't do that, I would be following suit with everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, okay, hey, yeah, I did try and start a business and it didn't work, but now I could be like, hey, I started a business and I thrived. You know what I mean? I persevered. You know what I mean? I trudged through those tough times. You know what I mean? To get to where I'm at now. It's not all rainbow and you know, everything going good. You got to go through a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And the obstacles are what make you. You know what I mean? People take that for granted. They'd be like, oh, well, I went through some. Okay, but listen, you went through that, but guess what? That's another chink in your armor. You know what I mean? Now that's something you could deal with. You know what I mean? You experienced that, so now guess what? Now you know how to deal with that in the future. So now as you carry on and progress, you know what I mean? You go and build your business or whatever it is you have in life. You know what I mean? Now you can say, hey, you know what? I experienced that and I know how to deal with it. Boom. I'm gonna shove that to the side because now I know how to deal with that. You know what I mean? And like, people take experiences for granted. They'd be like, oh, I would never want to go through that again. No, I'm glad I went through that shit. You know what I mean? I'm glad I went through that tough time. I'm glad I didn't have $5 in my pocket. I'm glad, you know, cops are knocking on my door because I was behind on child support. No, because that made me stronger. That made me really realize that life is real. You know what I mean? You have to go out there and put the work in. You know what I mean? Nothing's handed to you. There's nobody there to bail you out. Mom and dad are not there to like, hey, I got you. No problem. You're fine. Because guess what? Now you're going to have that mindset where you're like, I'm complacent. I can still fuck up. You know what I mean? No problem. I can still just, you know, wing it. Mom and dad got me. You know what I mean? And that's society we're in. It's crazy.
Oh, man. No, yeah. People do take it for granted. I think for like the last, I don't even know, 5, maybe 10 years, every time my mom gives me money, she makes sure she writes, this is a loan.
Yeah.
This is not, you know what I mean? Like, so if I am going to use her as credit, I got to know that can be paid back in some way, shape, or form. Nothing's handed to you. A gift or whatever it says, unless it's saying, okay, this is a gift where we're doing something like that.
But it's done with good intentions. You got a good mom. She knows that, you know, saying, even if she writes us a loan, it's good for your mindset. Like, okay, hey, mom's got my back, but like, don't get comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you got to pay this shit back. You know what I mean? Like,
I can't
exactly. You can't fail. You got to, they're relying on you to push through that obstacle and say, hey, listen, okay, you gave me this blanket and I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to make a cape out of that shit and just soar through this obstacle. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like that's so important, man. Everybody gets so comfortable, man. That's why I'm like, you know, that's why I always say complacency is a disease, man. You know what I mean? Mediocrity is a disease. You know what I mean? You could be like, okay, you know what? I made ends meet. I'm good. But you have to want more out of life, man. Like if you just go about life like, okay, you know what? This and this is done. It's fine. I'm okay with that. If you do that, you're gonna just keep living this mundane life where it's like repetitive. You know what I mean? And no, I want more. You know what I mean? Like you have to say, listen, I want more. I want to be able to just do things in life. I want to be able to travel. You know what I mean? Even if it's to another state, it doesn't have to be in another country. You just want more out of life. You know what I mean? If people don't grasp that concept, they're going to forever be stuck in that rut where they're like, okay, whatever. Their excitement is going out to a club or a restaurant to eat food. Like, no, I don't want it to be like that. You know what I mean? I want to experience life.
Or
I want
if
to
that's
travel.
cool for you, if that's your idea, you know, once a month you go to a nice restaurant or like, you know, you're fine making whatever. I just want to throw a number like 30 or 40. I mean, you look at median in this area, most jobs, most good jobs are paying about that. So if you can make that work in 2025, I understand, because not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur. Like,
no, they're not.
You know, I hate when entrepreneurs get out here like, oh, you 9-to-5ers need to quit what you're doing and stuff like this. No, like I have at least 9 to 5 in contracts. You know what I mean? I'm at working contracts guaranteed throughout that time, and then time in addition to that. So it's like, if you're not ready to go all in on it, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not going all in and you're sad, try going all in. See if it doesn't make you feel great. See if that doesn't give you enough dopamine. I mean,
dude, you're hitting right in the middle, because I always say, like, that's the thing. Like, sometimes the risk is worth the reward. You know what I mean? Like, you have to just take that step. Like, shit, you want to step in that water? It might have alligators or crocodiles in it, but if you can cross there and there's a prize for you on the side, let's take that risk. You know what I mean? But you won't know till you do it. You know what I mean? That's why they say people, a huge percentage of people die and they have regret because they didn't make that move or they didn't take that chance. You know what I mean? Take that risk. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to, man. You know what I mean? Especially the society we live in now, where we have so many resources, man. Shit, I wish I had a modicum of the resources we have now. You know what I mean? You have YouTube, all these platforms where you could learn anything, you could pick up anything. You know what I mean? And it's sad because it's out there, but a lot of people still don't utilize it. You know what I mean? They're just like, no, you know what? I'm cool with just.
We lost it over a generation.
We did lose it, man.
My mom got into crafting. She's in her late 60s. She got into crafting through YouTube and watching people, and like put a whole room in her house in retirement, kept learning stuff. I feel I'm going to be the same way.
Absolutely.
But like my kids aren't, they're still in school. They're like, I'm learning what's in school. I'm like, you don't want to take anything you learn in school further. Like, you know how many things there were in my graphic design course where like we had the ability to do it. But
absolutely.
If you remember YouTube when it first started, it was like man popping red balloon.
Yeah,
it wasn't
just dumb
like
stuff. And you're like, I'll watch it. Like, it's just a stupid viral video. You know what I mean? But now it's like so much content. Like, it could be as stupid as you order a new machine or something and be like, damn, I want to know how this machine is assembled or how it works. And you could almost 100% of the time, you can go on there, type the machine and be like, okay, this is a video of unboxing or how you assemble it. You know what I mean? And I've done that. I have gym equipment, where I'm like, you know what I mean? I look it up and I'm like, I'm glad I looked it up, because there's sometimes like a bolt doesn't align a certain way. You got to move the machine a certain way to get it to thread in. Like, YouTube is a huge, huge resource, and a lot of people don't utilize it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, I live on YouTube. Like, my notifications on my phone is all YouTube videos of different pages I follow, whether it's motivational speakers, but they're spiritual. You know what I mean? Like, I like Stephen Furtick.
Get back into that.
I like Jocko Willink. Yeah, I'll give you some, and that's all I mean. Ask anybody that knows me. Like, if you're around me, 90% of the time it's going to be a YouTube video playing in the background, whether I play it on my phone or my Bluetooth speaker. There's always something I'm trying to pull in, whether it's motivational or inspirational or educational, you know what I mean? I've even, started dabbling with learning other languages on YouTube because it's there, you know what I mean? Like, why waste your time? So it kills me when people sit there and they scroll for 45 minutes to an hour. Like, what did that benefit you? Okay. Yeah. You saw a couple of posts that made you laugh or you liked it, you know what I mean? But like, that's time you don't get back. So you just invested 45 minutes to an hour scrolling when you could have picked up a new skill, you know what I mean? Or, inquired about a new hobby or
even spend time with ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is huge. I know a lot of people use that, and it's just great. It's so funny you say that because it's so crazy.
We're low on time. We actually just rolled over an hour. I'm not going to be able to tell you all the hacks. It's another trip. Yeah. I'll let you know some things. Even just the voice got a lot better. So while I'm driving, I'll tell it, look, I'm looking to brainstorm. That changes the way it responds to you. You
Absolutely.
Just say, hey, and then it'll keep poking the questions rather than try to have a conversation with you. And then when you get to wherever you are,
Yep.
all that chat history is saved in your computer, so you can go back through your brainstorms. Like,
Bro, that you hit it on the money. And it's funny because like I always tell people like this phone is a huge resource, it's a tool. And I find it really hard to just sit on here and scroll. Like I'm always like big on my time. Like I feel like time is money. You know what I mean? Like if not literally in a currency sense, but like you can benefit from what you choose to put in front of your face on your phone, you know what I mean, or the information you choose to disseminate to your platform. That's why like I always take breaks from social media. There's times I don't go on for a week, you know what I mean, because people are like always posting the same stuff about the same celebrity or whatever stuff they hear and every gossip, whatever. And I'm like, I don't care for that. You know what I mean? How's that going to benefit me? I don't care about what P Diddy's doing or what Jay-Z's doing. You know what I mean?
That
Like
was the last break I took. I'm just coming off a month break.
Listen,
right around the Diddy stuff.
Doesn't it feel good though? Like it just divests you from everything and it allows you to focus on what you need to get done. You know what I mean? And that's why like I'm big on that.
I can't even post all the stuff that I got done.
Yeah,
when
it's
I
crazy.
got off social and I locked in, I literally I posted once this week where I had 3 projects. One of them was 4 different graphics. One was an album cover. One was a logo, which they take like 2 weeks. So it's like I'm literally working on 3 projects at a time.
Yep.
But yet it's been 2-3 months. How much do you think in 3 months that I have? And if I don't want to flood you and post, I mean, I could just go and post 26 in a day.
That's huge. Like, and there's people like that, dude. There's people like that that'll post like 7-8 times in a day. And the stuff they put out is just either complaining or, you know, just stupid idolizing, you know, celebrities or whatever. What's that getting you? They don't care about you. At the end of the day, they're sitting pretty, you know what I mean? And you complaining is not going to help anybody else out, you know what I mean? Like, you just look miserable, you know what I mean? Like, are you really content with your life that you have to get on Facebook and complain about every single thing in life? Like, it doesn't serve any purpose. So yeah, I'm huge on just divesting myself from social media and just taking like weeks off at a time because, like you said, it allows you to lock into what you want to get done, you know what I mean? And dude, there's no greater feeling than just like feeling productive. Like, damn, I got this done. You know what I mean? I'm not distracted by social media and who's doing what or who's talking to who or who's, you know, betrayed somebody else. You know what I mean?
At this point, I just say, I ask myself, what am I looking for?
Yeah.
Now, if it's, I like threads because you can go with just the people
I wanted to get into threads too. That seems pretty interesting. I'm just scared to get down that rabbit hole because I feel like if I get into threads and I see people post like, and you can see like the preview of what they're posting, I'm like, damn, this sounds pretty good. I would like to jump on that. You know what I mean? But I haven't really dabbled with it like that. You know what I mean? So
no, it's highly engaging and you can see just your followers. So like one thing I like about Facebook, and this has happened when I took the month break.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if I was all right. They're like, I haven't seen you.
Dude, that's
like,
what they say. Exactly.
It becomes like a community. It becomes like a thing where you have to know what happened where and for most people, I'd imagine that it's pretty much like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
For people like me or you who are connectors, we know people of all different walks of life, race, creed, religion. You're going to see like the things that are happening in this circle may not be happening over here.
Absolutely,
so I find struggle with, okay, who is my audience?
Exactly.
I have 20 to
genuine.
29 to 35. I mean, most of the listeners of this show are 32 to 39, but you know, it changes the way you think about all of it.
Absolutely.
But no,
man.
they're going to love this episode, man.
I'm glad. I was glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be a part of it, man. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I look forward to a future visit, you know what I mean? And capitalize on what we were talking about, you know, talk more about stuff, you know what I mean? It'd be great to just disseminate some information that's going to help people, you know what I mean? Benefit them. So I thank you for this opportunity.
I know you don't take it for granted, but you live a life, you do a lot of things that people think. Like you do Instagram in real life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you do the stuff that people think. So if they want to be anything like you, they're going to listen to this episode. They're going to think about their daily habits. They're going to set goals with intention. You know, and that's what this show is about. It's about the journey. It's about persevering more than anything. And once you get to the end to success, that there's still a journey after that.
Exactly, dude. Yeah.
It's like like they say, if you go to the end of the space and you shoot an arrow out, where's it going to
land? Yeah, exactly.
Like
100%.
It goes. But yeah, man, let's land the plane.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. It was awesome being here. For sure, man. Thank you for this opportunity. And shout out to the audience, man. Let's do some more in the future.
Do you have anything coming up you want to shout out?
No, nothing really. I'm just laying low right now. I'm not competing till like next year, so I'm good right now.
Cool, man. Maybe we'll get a setup at one of your competitions.
awesome,
We'll have
man. Let's do it.
We'll do a ringside
Let's do
announcement.
it.
Me and
Let's
Evan.
do it. Yeah, let's do it. Thank
All
you,
right,
man. I
man.
appreciate it, Tony.
Thank you for listening to I Will Not Lose. Thank you for listening to another episode of I Will Not Lose podcast. To support the show, visit iwillnotlosepodcast.com. You can subscribe to your favorite podcast player, share the episode link, leave a comment. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. And if you're listening in and can't see the QR code for donation, go to tothedesigner.com/links, and there's instructions to donate up there. Thanks so much.